I talked to them a lot. I talked to their friends a whole lot. And I knew, I've known for a long time, that there was an undercurrent in the African American community that was not being talked about by anybody, and nobody was making any attempt to address it. And being a product of the civil rights movement, way back when everybody was singing the praises of Thurgood Marshall and Robert Carter and all those people, Matthew Perry, they were great role models for me. But there was someone named Constance Bakley Motley, a woman who was an incredible lawyer and became a judge. Nobody ever talked about her. And so you can imagine that that's been a sore spot for me for a long time. I took the opportunity during the South Carolina primary to say to then candidate Biden that I thought that there was an issue that needed to be addressed, and I thought it was very, very important to the African American community that it be addressed. His campaign was struggling, had just lost 3 primaries, and this was, quite frankly, do or die for him. I urged him to come out publicly for putting an African American woman on the Supreme Court. A lot of people urged him not to do it. In fact, I saw last night Simone Sanders said that she was among those groups, or the people telling him, don't do it. I will always believe that what really made the difference in the South Carolina primary was his pledge to do just that. Everybody says it was the loudest applause of the night. That was coming from everybody in that audience. And he went on to win a resounding victory in the South Carolina primary and carried the Southern states in the so-called Super Tuesday and became the nominee and is now president. And today, he reiterated, as he has several times, that he is going to nominate by the end of February an African-American woman to serve on the Supreme Court. Now, I hear all this foolishness, some senator from Missouri talking about this is reverse discrimination. What is it for a country to be this old, as old as we are, that we've never, ever had a Black woman even discussed to serve on the Supreme Court? That's not discrimination? What is that? I wonder why Senator Hawley won't address that issue. Well, we'll see what happens with the nomination. I think one of these 7 women that's being talked about, that a lot of media have now boiled down to 3, will serve on the United States Supreme Court. And quite frankly, I'm supporting one of them that I think would make a fantastic justice of the Supreme Court. And a lot of people have asked me why. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Michelle Childs. She was born in Detroit. Her father died when she was 13 years old. Her mother moved her and her sister to Columbia, South Carolina. She attended Columbia High School, was valedictorian of her class. And quite frankly, she really demonstrated her leadership qualities way back then and was president of the student body. Went on to the University of South Florida for her bachelor's degree, where she graduated with honors. Got her Jewish doctorate from the University of South Carolina, a master's in law or in some judicial field from Duke University. She has served as a deputy director of a state agency. That's how I came to know her. She served as a workers' compensation judge in South Carolina, a circuit judge in South Carolina, and now she's a federal district judge. Now, when she was a circuit judge, Chief Justice Jean Todt often called upon her to be a special judge. And Justice Todt has told me what an incredible legal mind she has and what an incredible person she is. And then when she went on to the federal bench, she is now president of the Federal Judges Association. Everywhere she goes, she's recognized by her colleagues for her leadership qualities. Coming out of the blue-collar family, growing up in a single-parent household, and having the kind of experiences that so many people will be she'll be standing in or sitting in judgment of. I always say it is good for judges and other people in public office to have the ability to empathize, which you cannot do unless you've had the experiences to understand what is going on before you. Judge Childs has everything I think it takes to be a great justice of the Supreme Court. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Yes, thank you, Congressman. We will now open up the floor for questions. As a friendly reminder, please use the raise hand feature or the chat function to indicate that you have a question, and I will call on you. You may then unmute, state your outlet, and ask your question. First up, Meg Kennard, you may unmute, state your outlet, and ask your question.
Hi, Congressman. Meg Kennard with the AP. Thank you for doing this, as always.
Thank you very much.
Two questions for you. One, speaking specifically to Judge Childs' educational background. As you noted, she's not an Ivy League graduate, which is something that we see very oftentimes on the Supreme Court. I was hoping if you could speak specifically to her educational credentials and how, perhaps in your view, they help make her a well-rounded candidate. And as a follow-on, I'd also like you to expand a bit on what you hit on at the beginning in terms of now President Biden's pledge to name a Black woman to the court, and how specifically you feel that that helped him here in South Carolina, particularly among that segment of the Democratic electorate, which, as you know, is a major driver here in the party, Black women voters.
Well, as far as her education is concerned, you may recall several times during the campaign, Joe Biden referred to his own educational background and experiences and talked about the fact that he had attended public schools and had a public education, that he himself was not an Ivy Leaguer. And he talked about that as being something that made him understanding of a lot of the issues that will come before him as president. I think the same applies in this instance. I don't have anything against any of the other people in the race that are under consideration. I know some of them, one particularly, I think she's an outstanding person. It's kind of interesting that of the 7 people in the race, only 2 of them did not go to Ivy League schools. And I think that we run the risk of, and I've often heard it said, that you run the risk of creating an elite society. Look, we've got to recognize that people come from all walks of life, have all kinds of backgrounds and experiences, and we ought not dismiss anybody because of that. To hear someone talk about taking someone into consideration because it's an African American is to discriminate reversely against people who've had these positions for the last 2 centuries. Come on. She's being nominated like all the others. If she gets, well, she is nominated for DC Circuit. And she will have that hearing next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. I expect for her to be before the Senate for a hearing. So she got that nomination. She was getting this hearing in spite of being African American, not because she's African American. And so as it relates to Joe Biden's candidacy and the impact that this had, I really sincerely believe that Joe Biden's relationship with South Carolina, he spends more time, or used to, before he was president, he spent more time in South Carolina, I think, than any other state outside of the Delaware. Joe Biden is no stranger to South Carolinians, and South Carolinians are not strangers to him. So I don't know if he's ever met Michelle Childs, but I know this. He has met a lot of people who think very highly of her. And these are people from all walks of life, bipartisan, people who think she's an outstanding judge and will make an outstanding jurist.
Thank you, sir.
All right, up next, we have J.R. Berry with WLTX. You may unmute and ask your question.
Congressman, thank you for your time. Have you had an opportunity to speak one-on-one privately with the president about Judge Childs?
Not recently. I talked to him about her several months ago. As you know, I wrote a letter recommending her for the DC Circuit some 13 months ago, maybe 14 months ago. Wait a minute. Yeah, 14 months ago. After he got elected in November, and I wrote a letter to him in December, and she was on my list of recommendations for the DC Circuit, because everybody says, well, that's the way you need to go if we're going to go up to the Supreme Court. I've never agreed with that, but I don't have to agree with all the rules that I have to play by. So I don't agree with that. In fact, Sotomayor is sitting on the bench now. She's from the Second Circuit up in New York. She didn't go through the DC Circuit. And so I don't understand why. And that's the first thing I heard where her name came forward. Well, she needs to be in the DC Circuit. Then they talked to somebody else. Said, why don't you recommend her for the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals? They said, well, I'm saying that she needs to go to the DC Circuit. So these things, people try to force you to play all kinds of games. And so you don't have to. The most recent woman to sit on the Supreme Court, who's there now, she came from Notre Dame University. She didn't come from Ivy League School, and she did not come from the DC Circuit. So that these things are false and ought not be pushed out there, but they do.
Do you have any plans in the future to speak with the president one-on-one about your judge that you're supporting in this process?
If I think I need to, I will. I don't think I need to. Joe Biden and I know each other very well. I've talked to Joe a lot. We had a telephone conversation 2 weeks ago. I have not talked to him in person since. I do plan to talk to him. In fact, we had a meeting scheduled to get together next week, even before all of this came about. So I don't know whether this will change our plans for that meeting or not. But I talk to the president often, and I'm not the one who feel that you got to always be talking to people. I know him; he knows me. We pick up the phone, we call each other when we think we need to talk to each other. I'm not going to. The president got a lot to do without talking to me.
Congressman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, we have Nick Reynolds. You may unmute and ask your question.
All right, excellent. Thank you again for doing this, Congressman.
Thank you.
As I'm sure you are aware, we haven't had a justice on the Supreme Court from South Carolina since 1941, I believe, under Roosevelt. That was Jimmy Burns.
Right.
And as you might also be aware, I know yesterday Senator Graham tweeted out that it was very likely that whatever nominee Biden puts forward would be likely confirmed without a single affirmative vote from Republicans. I was curious if you've had conversations with either of South Carolina senators about whether or not they might be willing to support a nominee from South Carolina.
Well, let's put it this way. I've talked to both the senators about Michelle Childs. I haven't asked them whether or not they would vote for her. I asked both about what they thought of her, and both of them were very complimentary. I informed the both of them that I would be recommending her for the DC Circuit. And I informed both of them that I was doing that in large measure because I felt that she was Supreme Court material. And most of the people on my side of the aisle felt that if you wanted to go to the Supreme Court, your best route would be through the DC Circuit Court of Appeals. And that's why I was recommending her for that. And President Biden has nominated her for that. And I would hope that both those senators will see their way clear to support it, her nomination.
Terrific. Thank you.
Mm.
That appears to be all of the questions. Congressman, would you like to share any final thoughts?
Well, let me thank all of you for being here today. I think that it's very, very important for us to see this day as another step towards making this country a more perfect union. And I think that those people who find fault with this nomination will not be cursing the darkness that they see, but will do something to light a candle. And that goes for anybody who sees real fault in this historic nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman, and thank you to everyone for joining. That concludes today's call.